So I have a secret hat I use sometimes. It says, make your smile great again. So I wear that when I work on my patients. So when they look horrified or complain, I quietly cut back on the laughing gas and say, you got this. It's not as bad as you think it is.
So do y'all remember that pediatric dentist who got on here and proudly proclaimed that she would actually take away pain medicine without consent if she noticed that her patients were uncomfortable with her being an outright Trump supporter? Yeah, so the good news is, not only is she most likely facing losing her license and her practice, but now she's probably facing multiple lawsuits from other dental practices.
It's going to be a very, very long week for those that work in dental care, especially those who are dentists, because now they found out that that dentist who is MAGA, who basically wears a hat that's a spin-off of the saying, silently cuts off laughing gas for patients, who is a pediatric dentist. So you're doing this to children.
What kind of self-polishing hypocrite do you have to be? A diva with a drill, a tooth fairy turned torturer that thinks like cruelty is comedy, that you need to be able to stand up in a crowd and joke, well, supposedly joke about hurting your patients just because they don't share the same political beliefs that you do. It's already so difficult for people to come to a dentist. They're so scared of dentists and doctors for the like. And then you go and do this. You go and put the fear of the fact that if they don't have the same views as us, we're gonna hurt them. Are you actually insane? Not just that, she's a pediatric dentist. So is she joking about harming kids?
You went to the dentist and the dentist didn't numb your gums or anything to stop the pain, and they just drilled into your teeth so you could feel it just because they didn't like you or because you was black or they thought you was a Democrat. Well, meet Dr. Harleen Grewal out of Santa Clarita, California. She admits making jokes at a conference. She was speaking at some seminar saying that when Democrats are people who come in and seemingly act like Democrats, or she thinks they're Democrats, she turns down the laughing gas so they can feel more pain.
I quietly cut back on the laughing gas and say, you got this. It's not as bad as you think it is. I stole that from Joe Biden.
I don't even know why people would have something to say about their politics at the dentist office, but she has like this wall of like all the Republicans and famous MAGA people, and if they come in and say anything or acts like they don't like anybody on the wall, she says she turns down the laughing gas so they can feel a little bit more pain. Is that legal? Is that ethical? And how about she's an immigrant dentist?
Seeing that MAGA dentists say that she treated other patients that weren't MAGA in a more harmful way or whatever she said, because I couldn't even watch it all without getting upset, it really, really disappointed me. I had so many bad things to say and I just didn't want to get my account deleted, and I'm really trying to protect my brand, but it made me think about myself and how me as a young black professional, I have been in several situations where I'm treating patients who are discriminatory against me, who have even called me colored, and I still proceeded to treat a patient after that experience. In the day after the election, I went to work. I had to place an implant on a patient who was celebrating what happened. And as a US citizen, obviously, like, we all have our own political beliefs and we're entitled to that. We're entitled to support who we want to support. But as a healthcare provider, your job is to treat people, right? And that doesn't say, disclaimer, only people who agree with your political opinions, or only people who look like you, or only people who support people that look like you, right? And me, if I could discriminate against people who don't think that I'm qualified for what, just because of the color of my skin, I wouldn't be able to keep my lights on in my home. You know what I'm saying? But when I treatment plan a patient, and when I see a patient is a person, and my job, all the training that I've done and I've amassed, is to treat people. So to have somebody out there representing our profession saying that proudly that she does those kind of things, I need her license going by end of business today.
So do y'all remember that pediatric dentist who got on here and proudly proclaimed that she would actually take away pain medicine without consent if she noticed that her patients were uncomfortable with her being an outright Trump supporter? Yeah, so the good news is, not only is she most likely facing losing her license and her practice, but now she's probably facing multiple lawsuits from other dental practices. Why? Because obviously after that clip went viral, a lot of people wanted to try and find where she worked, because she obviously shouldn't be working with patients, especially children, because she's a psychopath. However, there are multiple practices across the country, I think even even some in her own state, by the same name. And we have now had several owners from those other practices come on here and say they have lost business, they have had appointments canceled, they have had their reputations damaged because they were confused with this other person. And if they can prove that there is like tangible loss, they can sue her and her practice for loss and damages. It just makes my little heart sore that she's going to be in court for the next years and hopefully has to pay, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars. But most importantly, I hope she never works on another patient again.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report, where we get an outsider's view with an insider's clarity. Let's get into this because the story is wild, but sadly not surprising. A dentist named Grewal is under fire after bragging about mistreating liberal patients during procedures. And this isn't speculation. These were her own words. She said, and I quote, "So I have a secret hat. It says, make your smile great again. So I wear that when I work on my patients. So when they look horrified or complain, I quietly cut back on the laughing gas." Just think about that. You go in for dental work, expecting professionalism and proper pain management, and the person holding the needle is playing political games with your comfort and safety. And one thing that's very important to say is that this doctor is a pediatric dentist. That's not edgy humor. That's unethical, dangerous, and potentially criminal. Before we proceed, all credit goes to the creators of these videos. Let me roll a few more clips and I'll be back with more commentary.
So I have a secret hat I use sometimes. It says, make your smile great again. So I wear that when I work with my patients. So when they look horrified or complain, I quietly cut back on the laughing gas and say, you got this. It's not as bad as you think it is.
Meet Dr. Harleen Grewal. She's a board-certified dentist and the owner of Skyline Smiles in Santa Clarita, California. Not only did this doctor publicly brag about causing harm for patients, she also bragged about how she preferred that certain patients didn't come into her office altogether.
It was so much better in my office when the dents stayed home during COVID with their masks on. I wish they still did.
Unlike most people in the country, Dr. Grewal was celebrating a time when everyone was dying by the millions here in the United States because she had to serve less Democratic patients. Dr. Grewal has made it no secret that she is a MAGA supporter, and now she's publicly bragging about harming her patients intentionally. So if I were somebody and I wanted to comment on that or make sure that a business that intentionally harms patients never was allowed to do it again, this is the name of that business in case you were a patient there and forgot.
So meet the so-called MAGA dentist, Dr. Harleen Grewal of Skyline Smiles in California. She proudly wears a MAGA hat in her TikToks and literally brands herself as the MAGA dentist. She admits to cutting back pain meds mid-procedure if she thinks her patient is a Democrat. That's not just politics, that's medical discrimination and patient harm. Healthcare isn't a partisan game. It's supposed to be safe, ethical, and equal. Denying anesthesia or any oral analgesics because of your beliefs, that is dangerous and unacceptable. So here's our call to action. We are going to report her immediately to the California Dental Board. Share this video so people know what's happening at Skyline Smiles and demand accountability, because if this stands, no patient is safe.
And honestly, a lot of people aren't even shocked. Some are saying they've seen MAGA nurses and doctors let the political bias affect how they treat patients that appear liberal. It's a real thing. This kind of behavior isn't harmless. It creates long-term trauma. This is how dental trauma and medical PTSD is formed. People already fear the dentist, and then you find out professionals like Harleen out here bragging about punishing patients for their beliefs. Now, let's be clear. Dentists don't take the Hippocratic Oath the same way physicians do, but they're still bound by medical ethics, licensing rules, and patient safety standards. Whether she stood there and recited the oath or not, the principle of do no harm still applies. But apparently, for some people, professionalism stops where politics begin. And let me just say this plainly. I feel like a dentist who behaves that way shouldn't be practicing. It makes sense that there would be consequences. A dental license is not a political accessory. You can't weaponize healthcare just because you don't like someone's views. Freedom of speech doesn't doesn't mean freedom from accountability. You can post whatever you want online, but when you openly admit to harming patients, you're basically volunteering to lose your livelihood. People are already demanding action. Some are saying she should be reported for malpractice, and they're absolutely right. You don't get to intentionally reduce sedation or pain relief to teach a lesson. That's not pettiness. That's negligence and abuse. It's a violation of patient trust, and depending on the state, it could also be a crime. And here's what really adds weight to this. Doctors and dentists are speaking out too. Professionals in the medical field are calling her behavior reckless and humiliating for everyone who takes patient care seriously. Some have said she's not just unethical, she's a liability. When other doctors start calling you out publicly, that means the situation is serious.
MAGA are out here trying to dox people on the left based off of how they mourn a podcaster, but there are literally MAGA Republicans confessing online that they give a different level of anesthesia to their patients based off of their political affiliation and beliefs. Okay, so that makes me want to talk about a very important topic, which is the line between political views and professional care. As a medical provider myself, I firmly believe in separating personal political views from patient care, which was not done by this dentist, okay? When a provider intentionally inflicts pain based off of political differences, it's not just unethical, it's medical malpractice and negligence. And it also crosses into like criminal territory, like battery and assault. This behavior violates the core ethical principles of healthcare, which is non-maleficence, beneficence, autonomy, and justice. Let's remember our duty to provide unbiased, compassionate care for all patients, regardless of political affiliation.
This isn't new territory either. It's similar to when patients face racism in healthcare or when women are brushed off by male doctors. People have been mocked, ignored, undermedicated, or misdiagnosed because someone in power didn't value them. Now, political bias is being added to the list, and it's happening with drills, needles, and sedation levels. And I'll say what needs to be said. Politics have no place in a clinical space. That's not the environment for it. We're talking about people's pain, safety, and bodies, not your election cosplay. Doctors should help anyone, no matter what they believe in or what they have done. Healthcare should be provided to anyone equally. If you can't do that, you don't belong in medicine at all. Some people are saying, unfortunately, MAGA is a cult, and the mindset is always them versus you. If you're not one of them, you're against them. And when that mentality makes its way into healthcare, patients aren't just uncomfortable, they're at risk. What Helene said publicly proves what people have been warning about. The scariest part isn't that she did it, is that she felt comfortable enough to brag. If she said it out loud, how many others feel the same way behind closed doors? Now here's the twist people didn't expect. Some MAGA folks are even turning on her. A subsection of that crowd is distancing themselves. And now she's shocked that people want her license gone. Actions have consequences.
That MAGA pediatric dentist that got online and admitted to lowering the anesthesia on her pediatric patients based on their political beliefs should lose her license to practice dentistry in the state of California. She says that she has her office decorated with Make America Great Again posters of Republican officials, even one of her and Trump together. And then she has her dentist helmet that says, Make Your Smile Great Again. And based off of the pediatric patient's reaction, that alone will determine whether or not they get the full anesthesia during oral procedures. She says that she leans over to the patient, lowers the laughing gas, and then tells the child, see, it's not that bad. Yeah, that's medical malpractice. You are intentionally exposing children to unnecessary pain during oral procedures, and that is child abuse. Okay? And what's really sad is that apparently you got 11 medical malpractice lawsuits pending against you. Okay? Politics don't belong in a pediatric dental office. If they don't belong in school, they definitely don't belong in a medical setting, at a hospital, at a pediatric dental office, whatever. Okay? As part of the Make America Great Again movement, we don't claim her. Honestly, be so for real.
She said it with her whole chest. Patients have the right to report her, and with enough complaints, the state board has to respond. Malpractice isn't always a botched procedure. It can be intentional neglect, political punishment, or biased treatment. Pain management is not optional. Withholding laughing gas, anesthesia, or laughing agents isn't a joke. It's a legal and ethical violation. You don't get to judge somebody by their bumper sticker and then decide how much pain they deserve. The American healthcare system has already traumatized Black people, women, immigrants, disabled folks, you name it. Now, political affiliation is being used as another excuse to deny care. That's not just unethical, it's dystopian. And the worst part, she said it like it was funny, like liberals deserve to suffer in a dentist's chair as punishment. Think about the mindset it takes to believe that and the kind of people cheering her on. But accountability is coming, and it should. This is not cancel culture. This is consequences. You don't get to harm patients and keep the title of doctor or dentist. At the end of the day, if you can't separate your politics from your profession, healthcare is not the field for you. If you see patients as enemies because they don't vote like you're not safe to practice. And if you brag about harming them, you just ended your own career. The mask slipped. Now everyone's watching.
We've all heard the warnings. Be careful what you say, and especially what you post on social media, because it could come back to haunt you, even if you meant it as a joke.
So what do you all think? Should she lose her license over this? And don't you let your child sit in her chair after hearing this? Let me know your comments down in the comment section. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video specifically tailored for you. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel and helps YouTube recommend this video to a wider audience. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, the Joy Report out.
I don't think I did anything wrong by making a joke.
Meet Dr. Harleen Grewal. She's a board-certified dentist and the owner of Skyline Smiles in Santa Clarita, California. Not only did this doctor publicly brag about causing harm for patients, she also bragged about how she preferred that certain patients didn't come into her office altogether.
It was so much better in my office when the dents stayed home during COVID with their masks on. I wish they still did.
Unlike most people in the country, Dr. Grewal was celebrating a time when everyone was dying by the millions here in the United States because she had to serve less Democratic patients. Dr. Grewal has made it no secret that she is a MAGA supporter, and now she's publicly bragging about harming her patients intentionally. So if I were somebody and I wanted to comment on that or make sure that a business that intentionally harms patients never was allowed to do it again, this is the name of that business, in case you were a patient there and forgot.